we've carved out a niche. We better get sponsored by a water filter company. On God.
We actually should. We should start reaching out to all sorts of questionably ethical things and shilling them on here.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
when should we start going for this? I guess we were kind of just discussing.
I don't know how when. I feel like most people don't really start getting the ads until like 5 to 10K. I feel like
That
subs.
makes sense. Yeah.
I don't really see it before that. Um,
I think it would be super funny to start advertising things, and like not get any money, right? Like we do a fake ad. Like
I wonder
we
if
do an ad to pretend we are sponsored by a company. We say, "Oh, this company has sponsored us, and now we're going to do a little segment." And it's not authorized at all by the company. It never got us paid.
can we get sued for that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
but
cool.
nobody will sue us because we have 300 listeners.
That's a good point. We can figure. It's very possible. It's like flubbing your resume. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not going to check up on us.
Who else has access to our metrics realistically? We'll just tell them that everyone's listening on Spotify or something.
We could
So
also
I went upstairs and I got some water, and then I poured some magnesium in my water.
now it tastes like seawater.
It did not taste like seawater. It kind of yeah. I don't want to say what it tastes like. It doesn't taste too good.
Yeah, I put too much. I have like magnesium like as a dropper, like ionate, and if I put too much, it's like makes your head hurt. Yeah, I don't know. It's like when in school when you like chew on a pen and it explodes in your mouth. You never had that happen? Maybe it's just me. When I had like
I think I did, but I don't like. I remember it having kind of like an acrid, like acidy taste.
yeah, that's how it feels. Yeah, it kind of tastes like battery, honestly. So that's how I felt like magnesium tastes when I like put too much in. Um, but hey, you need it. We need to by any means necessary, I guess. Got to keep your body in order.
Well, I did it because so yesterday I posted something about like, oh, we're coming up on the season where it seems everybody has to choose between megadosing vitamin D on a daily basis or developing suicidal ideations. And
Yep.
someone was like, "Well, actually, you have to take these other 7 supplements with vitamin D or else." And I was like, "Okay." And one of
Shut
them was
up.
magnesium, so I was like, "I have it on my
Magnesium, true.
counter. I might as well just pour it in."
I don't know what he said, but there's only like two things you need to take. It's like magnesium and
And
K2.
K2, yeah.
Yeah, and MK7 preferably, but you could do MK4 if you want. You just have to take way
I love
more.
reading about the debates between MK7 and MK4, and like nobody knows what either of them are. Like
I don't know what it is.
it's literally one of those in the same way that like do you remember how Marie's toothpaste thread was essentially like her whole remineralizing thread was essentially the Weston A. Price article on tooth remineralization, and she just converted it into a thread form and then
Oh, I didn't know
posted
that.
it.
Interesting.
It's literally like word for word verbatim. It would get you ejected from college for plagiarism if
Nice.
if it were ever submitted in any sort of like an academic setting. Like it was very like even the oh nice we've girlfriends calling. I'm gonna silence that.
Wrecked.
I guess I could turn it on,
No. It's cool.
but
I just want her to hear that. I mean, it's like
yeah, we've got so it was like even the sequencing of the thread was totally 100% the same. What were we even talking about before this fuck?
we were talking about MK. No, vitamin.
Oh
K2.
yeah. So in the same way that like when you're looking for that toothpaste stuff, like the reason that she copied that thread is because that's literally the only original source of tooth remineralization information on the entire internet. Like if you Google it, there are 150 articles written by fairly mid-sized to large publications about how to remineralize your teeth, but they're all this same thing copied and pasted, maybe formatted slightly differently, but it's like the same exact shit. Like you need fat soluble vitamins, you need hydroxyapatite, you need to be not eating X, Y, and Z foods, and it's just exactly the same information regurgitated from this Weston A. Price article. Like every single piece of tooth remineralization content on the internet is this same thing cut up, sliced, moved around, and reposted.
Interesting. That's the case with a lot of things, honestly. Now
Yeah,
that
well, that's where I was going with the
yeah.
MK4 versus MK7 thing. Is if you look up the differences between those two, it has like a similar progenitor article
Hmm.
where it was like one guy who knew the differences between the two, and he like wrote something comparing them, and maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong, but everybody since then has just copied that one guy, and whatever he said, it's all downstream of this guy who seemed confident enough that every single person copied him.
That's kind of the red pill about most fields and most like almost all of
Yeah.
medicine and shit. Is
Well, yeah,
that
I remember. Do you remember when everyone was always complaining about the listicle articles and being like, "Oh, like this is just you're just rehashing information that's already been," and it's like,
mhm.
I mean, yes, they are, but like what you are failing to understand is like this also happens in an academic setting.
Yep.
Like I was literally literally have my name on a study published in which we like did this same fucking thing.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
we just and I was like the guy in charge of massaging the data in order to make it representative of what like the industry trend was. It was like,
dope.
"Oh, Lucas, can you you know, can you like make these numbers match up?" Oh, yep.
Powerful. Yeah, I got you.
I am good at retroactively justifying stuff with numbers. That's
I mean,
kind of
there's that famous book, "Structure to Scientific Revolutions" for Thomas Kuhn, which is basically the same idea. It's like there's only a few like actual like paradigm shifting geniuses in any field, and then everyone else after that is just like taking their ideas, cutting them up, finding like really obvious like um success, like things that like follow from that idea, and like reinforcing the main structure of the core idea. But like there's very few people in any scientific avenue that are actually doing anything new per se. Like
no.
some like it's like
Well,
all
and
right.
like I even think like the ones who are doing something new, there's like five genuinely new things, and then there's like everything else that was either an iteration or a synthesis of two existing ideas. And this is the
Exactly.
same for science. It's the same for any sort of like art. It's the same for Twitter. Like whenever
Hmm.
people are talking about like, oh, like, and this is always the funniest thing to me is whenever someone says like, oh, like you stole this tweet, and then someone says like you stole it from this guy, and then someone will reply to them and be like, no, actually he stole it from this guy, and like post a different guy who posted it before, and then it winds up with this chain of like 20 people all like the towel boy tweet when there was that one guy who was like whining his ass off about, oh, you fucking stole this from me, and then some guy's like, you stole this from Guppy, and then someone was like, you stole this from Ulysses 5 years ago, and it's like,
Yeah.
guys, I'm starting to think that maybe maybe I don't really give that much of a shit about stealing anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's like I mean also there's like especially with like things like jokes, for example, like there's only but so many like good premises. I mean, I feel like the number
Right.
of good premises are like finite. And so if you have any idea of how a joke is structured, you're going to largely gravitate to certain things. And also are what people find funny is also limited, which is interesting. Like some people have a more varied sense of humor, but there's only a few like core concepts that and core
Yeah.
twists that people will laugh at
And this is
unless you're like
why,
strange.
like, as I have just like gradually optimized more and more towards things that I know are going to go viral on Twitter, I've realized like there really is a set segment of jokes, right? Like
Hmm.
you can there's like a core conceptual tweet idea list of like 250 viral tweets,
Yeah,
and you can like
basically. Yeah.
reword them and you can kind of mix them together and stuff, but like it was the same thing with the towel boy tweet. Like I have no problem like just stealing a tweet and saying I stole the tweet, lol. Like I've done that fucking tons of times.
Uh huh.
But with the towel boy tweet, I genuinely did not know that I was like taking that tweet concept from anyone else. So it was super funny to me because like, and this happens to other people all the time. Like if you look at any viral tweet, you can find someone in the comments saying, "Oh, like someone did this before, and you stole this." And I'm starting to realize more and more that like in a lot of instances, it's probably not that the person even like intentionally stole it. It's just that there's literally 150 tweet ideas, and inevitably somebody like if you're thinking about, okay, what subjects are like the breast implant one is a really good example. You can
Hmm.
basically like endlessly shit on breast implants because it does the thing of allowing guys to like pick a side and go to war with other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows girls to all feel good about themselves because like the underclass 95% who can't afford breast implants get to all say, "Oh wow, like it's so epic how my even my tiny disformed tits are still appreciated more than the $30,000 like implant bitches." And
Yeah,
so they love
exactly.
that shit. So it's like a fairly like broadly capturable thing for everybody. It stirs controversy. They get to argue like, oh,
And
is
once
it
you,
good?
yeah,
Is it bad?
simple.
Like whatever. Uh, but there's like a limited number of those subjects, and there's a limited number of stances you can take on those subjects, right?
Yes.
Like there's no third positionist for breast implants. You're either like
Yeah, like
pro
you
or
for
anti
organs, yeah.
breast implants.
Yeah, and then again, for it to even to go viral, it has to be kind of common denominator subject wise, right? Because it has to be something that everyone has access to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
like there's tons of like when I tweeted about I was tweeting about like old European cut diamonds versus brilliant cut diamonds.
mhm.
And I was just like, what am I even doing here? Because like this is everything I'm saying is like 100% true, right? Like
Mhm.
fuck brilliant cut diamonds. Old Euro has way more character. It's cooler. I'm not just saying that because I'm a coping boomer. It's actually better. Fuck you.
And there's like
Uh,
12 people who
Right. Literally,
understand.
like, even girls don't know what an old Euro cut diamond is. And then I
Yeah.
went on and I like did a thread where I was talking about like I was saying like fuck 4-prong engagement rings. This shit is not trad. This is not Lindy. 6 prongs all the way. This is based. And just nobody had any idea what I was talking about. And there are so many subjects like this where like I could go like infinitely into like a 5-cylinder engine has imbalanced secondary principal forces or something, and it's
Mhm.
like it's true, and I could make a really good argument both for and against a 5-cylinder engine, but nobody will ever give a shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go and instead we're going to endlessly post about maybe like drugs, breast implants, gender wars,
Mhm.
racial bait stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's all that works. I mean,
yeah,
you could kind of get away with like kind of like I get fucking depressed if I do that all day though. But my humor or my attempt at least sometimes is to like if you can like seed in the premise of the joke like enough information that they can figure out why it's funny, you can get away with more topics, but that's
yeah.
hard. And
No,
this is
this
why
this is
stand-up
my
comedians have like have their go-to like this works in every crowd because fucking people are retarded, and then there's the everything else. There's like, all right, I could set up a premise with all this extra shit, and then you can laugh once you get all the context. And they have to like make that balance for being successful versus making being artistically fulfilled.
yeah, and this is my like I'm never there's a lot of people who have like, oh Lucas, you're really like optimizing for engagement lately, like you is this like sucking the fun out of it for you? And it's like, no, it's not, because the fun never came from the numbers, right? Like the numbers are like representative of things either working or not working, but like I've basically been treating this massive thing as like a sandbox for the last like years on this account, where I'm just like I'm trying to see what demographics of people like what things are too like too obvious, like how much context you need to give like the average Twitter idiot to understand something. Like
Hmm.
this isn't it's all like a massive like psychological learning thing to try and understand like the online Twitter audience.
Yeah, and you
And
could.
there's also like a lot of there's always like some interesting funny way that you can say something that is like a really generic guy kind of tweet, like that low key Albert guy who literally just all day tweets stuff like if you really loved her you wouldn't have treated her like that, like just
Hmm.
all day that same concept of a tweet over and over, and that every fucking one gets like over 5K likes, every
That's
fucking one.
hilarious.
It's
I
so insane.
There's this one account. I don't remember what it is, but they just post like essentially me and who with like more and more like weird esoteric pictures again, and it blows up every single time. And like they
Mm.
never change their tweet format. It's always like me and who or like this could be us, something like that. And again, people don't care. They don't need it. They don't need anything original, which is
Well, I'm
unfortunate.
not
But
trying to like. Like I would actually, if I went low key Albert mode, like I would actually start becoming suicidal just because like it's all like the one sentence very very like you know how there's kind of like an inverse relationship between how easily you can go viral if you have like a one sentence one liner like
Yes.
black Twitter phrase versus how many people actually like come and follow you and like you as a person for that tweet.
Yes. The biggest tweets I have are like sentence fragments and like
Yeah.
an image, and those
Yeah,
like
like
those blow up.
it's exponentially easier to go viral off of something that's like one line long or one sentence or something. Whereas like if you have like my pin tweet is like an example of like it's something that's never gonna fucking go viral ever. But in terms of people who saw that tweet and followed me after, it was like 50 times higher than whatever my most viral tweet was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely like most of my tweets are like incomprehensible jargon to a lot of people, but for sure, like if I hit the right topic, I get a ton of followers from them. Like, and it's also never what I think it's gonna be. It's like, I mean, I think I made a post about like nuclear energy once that got me a bunch of followers, and I was like, okay, I didn't realize there was a nuclear, like a pro nuclear segment that wants to follow
Yeah, pro nuke Twitter.
the pro, yeah, but it worked out. Like when you have like more tailor made niche content, people like that more, and that's who I follow too. I don't really like following like bland accounts unless they're like particularly funny.
Yeah, I like the weird niches of those people.
And
And
yeah,
I've also kind of built into a weird thing where I've like attacked multiple like very niche groups of people,
mm-hmm.
but I now have like an account that is very not niche.
Yes.
And several of the niches that I have gone into like hate each other and like want each other dead.
Mm.
So
Now you're. I'm sure your comments are like warfare at all times.
yeah, no, I've basically like stopped looking in there, despite the fact that like I need to start going back and like because I have more fun responding to the comments than I do tweeting most of the time. But it's just like you have some guy going along with the joke, and then you have some guy replying saying, "It's obviously a joke, you idiot,"
Oh, that's the best.
and you're just like,
That's the
ah.
best.
Like I just click off the notifications when I see that because it's so like and then you go and you check and both of these people follow you and you're just like fuck.
Yeah, it's like, oh no. How many of your fucking followers? I feel like, well, not just you, for me too. Like, cannot take a joke. It's like, or like, do not have like a understanding of like humor. Like, I wonder how many people like think everything I say is literal.
Right. And well, the weirdest thing is there will be people who like, and especially on a profile like mine, where it's like, you should get a sense that like a lot of this isn't super, like super to be taken literally, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But, you'll have someone who's followed you for like 6 months. They've replied to you consistently. And then you do one take. And, like there was this guy who literally followed me for like 6 months. And then I made that take about like, guys who date Asian or white guys who date Asian women being pussies,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the exact phrasing was like, I could I could convince every white guy with an Asian girlfriend to suck me off in the bathroom in under 5 minutes or something like that, and because he had an Asian girlfriend, it specifically tilted him so much
Uh-huh.
that he started like replying to me uh with all of this like he said a bunch of words that like get you auto banned to me, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, you need to like not like delete this, you're going to get auto banned for saying this. And he's like, fuck you, like you're a blue pilled pussy, like a real alpha male would not care what Twitter says and they would go and burn like all of their accounts. And then
Uh-huh.
he brings in alts, and he got 3 of his alts banned on top
That's
of
so
his
funny.
main because he insisted on replying bannable words to me because he got pissed off that I called him gay.
Yeah, classic.
And I was just like, what the like what his
Why
main
would you
had
do?
like
Yeah,
1,500 followers. Like
not
it's not like a
nothing.
lot, but it was like
It takes a while to build
he
up to
had it
that.
since like 2014. He like
Yeah.
blew up his fucking 2014 Twitter account because he got so tilted over this obvious shit post. And this is like on my profile of all profiles, right?
Yeah.
So like you can have someone who they will understand literally every other joke until the punchline of the joke is them, and then they shit their pants and they do
Mhm.
like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life.
Classic. I'm having, now that I have that girl account. I have a couple dudes in the replies who are like in love with with Love with KT, and it's so funny because they think my account's her real account,
Oh my god.
and I'm like losing it because I keep saying like whenever I make a joke like and I use like my boyfriend and then he'll at this dude who's like, oh, it's over, and then I'll be like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend. He's like, oh, we're back, and it's like keeps adding the same dude.
Just like yo-yoing the reply guys.
Yeah, it's like pretty funny. But I wonder how long it takes him to realize it's not her. But hey, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. People are fucking dumb. I mean, like even with the that one tweet when I used what's her face's face, like the replies were like a lot of people thought it was a joke because it's like a really ridiculous premise to be like, oh, I thought you're into porn, so you
Yeah,
probably
right. Like it's obviously not something that any real person would do. It's like obviously a Latina tweet from a girl, like LOL
Mhm.
teehee, I'm so unhinged.
Exactly, and like, but
Or
like,
from a guy in this
and,
case, I
and
guess.
from a
But
guy in this case, Latino,
yeah.
Latinx. Um, but funny enough, I started to get the after a certain point, no one kept started taking it as a joke anymore. Like after around like 5K likes, like the amount of people in the replies that were cucks, like literal cuckolds, like that were like, oh, I would be able to handle that. Oh, why don't you DM me and we could try to like the amount of people like that, and then like a lot of OnlyFans girls started starting like retweeting and being like, "Oh, you're real as fuck for that," or "Oh, I should," like you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, "This is getting really weird." Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely like you get to see as things escape your sphere and they go more and more general, you just watch the average IQ of the replies fucking plummet, man.
mhm.
Like it's just an absolute like rock fall. It's so nutty. And there's like when you get to this kind of stuff, like there's basically like it's impossible to underestimate the intelligence of like the average Twitter user when you get into these like super normie spheres.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And this is something like I've multiple times like I'll be in a group chat saying like, "Oh, like I wonder if this is going to be uh there's no way that this isn't going to be like obvious to these people, right? Like let's try this. Let's try this response. Let's do this." And every time I'm just like, "Oh, fuck."
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, there's that. What is it? George Carlin. He's like, the average person's an idiot, and half the world is dumber than them. And it's like it's true. I mean, like especially on Twitter, it's like, yeah, I mean, half this site, if not more, is just like absolutely dumb, and there's nothing you can really
Well,
do about that.
and it's compounded online, right? Because it's not necessarily just that they're like actual idiots, because there are like genuinely smart people who get tricked too because they just have such low online literacy. But like the combination of these two factors is like really, really debilitating, right? Like you can't if you're going to think about the people who have the online literacy and are smart enough to understand like an average actually funny joke, uh it's not super high.
Yeah, no, it isn't. Um, yeah, even with online people, yeah, there's a lot of people just don't either. Usually, people who are really online, they have the literacy of jokes if they're like a specific type, right? If it's like your classic troll of like a normie, right? But like if they were getting trolled, they can't really pick up on it, right? Because there's like a certain lane of types of trolls that are obvious to people who are online, right? If I'm like
Yeah.
trolling a blue check, they know the subject matter that you're going to fall into, right?
Yeah.
So the signal there is very clear. But if you start doing like a kind of a meta troll of your following, and now people are like fucking lost. They're like, okay, it just doesn't. I don't know, it just doesn't register. Which is kind of what you were doing. Which is kind of what you do, since you don't really have a core follow base anymore. Now that you've kind of blown up.
Yeah, I don't know where half of these people came from. I keep seeing these follows from like people who have like all this weird like Marxist Leninist political shit, and then I go to their profile and it's just like a 70 follower account arguing endlessly in political replies. I'm just like, how the fuck did you find me and why did you stay?
That's Vouch. That's all Vouch's fault. But why did you stay is the real question. Like, how did you get to my account and just think that like this is for you?
Well, the other really interesting thing is I can tweet stuff that's like the the Ukrainian flag bottoming tweet
Uh huh.
that I posted, and I tweeted that basically specifically to see if there was going to be any sort of like weird lefty people who just like freaked out,
Mm-hmm.
and
No one.
nobody cared.
Yeah.
So like
Interesting.
I thought that like once you got past like a certain like I thought basically past like 10-20K, if you tweeted anything that wasn't like sucking off Globo Homo, they would just like freak out at you. Especially like I mean it's understandable in the cases if you're like 0 HP Lovecraft or like BAP or something, and
Mm-hmm.
like literally every single tweet from you is something that would filter these people out. But for
Yeah.
me, where it's like I effectively never post anything that could be like remotely considered to be a signaling that way.
Yeah. That's true.
And then you have just this one, like I expected a bunch of people to just like flip.
Now I wonder if it's because I mean I feel like almost with Ukraine though everyone's kind of now that the I don't know maybe like they're on the MK Ultra signals on it's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
we moved on past it, and like even people who were like deep into the like they had like the Ukrainian dick like far up their asshole, they've now kind of like realized, okay, this is a little cringe at this point.
Yeah, there's no like quick social clout from supporting Ukraine anymore. So and also like the overall messaging from the media has moved on, even though obviously Ukraine is still like pressing. Now they're on to like nuclear war, right? So
Is
like
that what we're doing? I haven't been.
war in Ukraine and Taiwan. Stop it. That's just my personal
It
opinion.
seems a little bit unlikely to.
That's so it's so dumb. Though I mean, there was like I did see briefly because I usually actually saw like my timeline. You know how there's like that whole like trending topics page. I
Yeah.
find that to be like intellectual terrorism. So I turned that all that stuff into Japanese so I can't read it. So I don't have like side of my screen just like bombing me with like fucking stupid shit that I don't care about. Um, so it's and also I like have few words like muted, like specifically Democrat and Republican because I just like I'm like if you're gonna have a political take, it,
Right.
please don't be a
Nobody who's
fucking
ever
boomer.
said Democrat or Republican in their political take has
It's
been
never
like,
yeah ever said
yeah.
anything interesting ever. So I have those words muted. I'm okay with political takes, but if you are still doing that, it's like you're a fucking idiot. Don't talk to me. I don't want to see your post. A
Yeah, it's
proxy
at least
war.
like I don't know. Like I like there being some sort of a metric, right? Like an active metric that I can track. This is why
Mhm.
I like Twitter engagement as a tool.
Yeah.
Is you get to go and you get to look at like okay, how many people viewed this versus replied this versus liked versus replied? Like what sort of content leads people to say I'm going to engage with it in this way? It's all like stuff that you can dick around with and like pull different strings and levers and stuff. Whereas
Hmm.
with most of the sociopolitical stuff, it's just like this endless wave of totally unquantifiable nonsense, right?
Yeah. But it's always funny too because it's like it's very rare since like if you're not in the news cycle and like you're not getting like tilted every day, it's very rare that you can't tell the outcome of something, right? It's like, what would you do if you were in charge and you had an enemy? Like, if you were playing a game, if this was like Civilization, what would, how would this play out? Is usually correct. You know what I mean? It's not. It's if you're in like the back and forth of the daily news, like it's I can see why to some people, I guess, who get caught up in that, the kayfabe of it all kind of like becomes real and they don't really know. But it's like wrestling, right? If you're watching professional wrestling, you know before you watch it who's going to win because there's only a few logical courses to the end, it's like the end of the season or whatever, like
Yeah,
WrestleMania or something. It's like sometimes you can throw a shoe like a wrench when it doesn't really matter. Like, oh, this person won this one match. It's like, okay, this match had no real consequence. I can see how I couldn't predict this. But if it's a major storyline, it's very like kayfabe is very logical. There's only people only like storylines have a certain endpoint, and I feel like politics is literally professional wrestling in like almost every respect. It follows almost the same rules, and the outcomes are almost always predictable. Um, except for the few times it's not, and it's like, and those times are usually a bit inconsequential. I don't know. Um, so I just feel like I don't know. A lot of people just over. I don't know. They put too much mental thought into it. They get kind of caught up in the kayfabe. I don't know.
You keep
Oh,
saying
do
the
you know what the
K
word
word.
kayfabe? Oh, kayfabe
Yeah.
is the
Well, I've just never heard it pronounced, so I'm just like sitting here shocked every time you say it.
Oh yeah, no, I've been
It's one of
watching
those
wrestling
words that I
on
would
YouTube.
never in a million years try to pronounce because I know I would fuck it up so bad.
That's funny. No, I've been I got every once in a while I get like enamored with like with the WWE. Like I don't really care, but like sometimes I like fall into a YouTube rabbit hole and I get interested into it again. I wanted to be a writer for them. I like apply. I used to live near the
I
headquarters, so I would apply to them.
do you know Eric Konevsky?
No.
He's a he used to be a guy on the bodybuilding.com forums. He kind of built his
Hmm.
YouTube channel. He's got a little following going. Uh he's a guy who I used to be like not good friends. I used to be fairly good acquaintances with back in the day.
Hmm.
And his goal from when he was like age 16 was to be like a WWE actor,
Oh, nice. I think
which was
it's.
always like that was such an interesting goal to me because I've never heard, like the concept of even having something that you wanted to do when you grew up
Hmm.
was kind of like phased out by my generation. Like
Yes. Yeah.
I never had kids in my class who were like, "Oh, like I want to be like an inventor, or I want to be like an astronaut." Like
Yeah. No one ever knew.
I never heard guys and girls did that, I guess. But it wasn't like guys did not think on like a long term scale like
Occupational.
that
Yeah.
about planning or anything like that. So the idea that a guy would have that concrete of a plan that would stay consistent over like 5 years, and not only that, but it would be like something totally like I would never in a million years think to pick WWE actor, right?
That could have been fun. I mean, I wish honestly
I know,
in
and
hindsight,
that was why because I was like, fuck, like this is absurd because like it probably pays pretty
it
well,
plays really well. Yeah.
and it would probably be fun as fuck, and like
And there's like it is a thing. Like it's funny because like when you're younger, you never even consider like these like weird jobs that you can like get on the path to get them.
yeah, well, I
Um.
was like, how the fuck does a kid even understand like conceptually what this job would entail? So
Yeah.
I've always thought about this kid because that was basically like the most insane, interesting goal that anybody's ever had. And I haven't checked up on whether or not he did it, but he got. I mean, he looked the part, right? Like he. For, last I saw him, like he looked damn near identical with any. Like he could be interchangeable for any of these WWE
Maybe he's in this indie
wrestlers
circuit.
physique wise.
Because there's like there used to be like you do like regional and then you get up in higher levels of like local wrestling. So you go to like indie circuit and then you like do like traveling shit and then like you move up, right? That was like kind of the path before until someone like noticed you, right? You were like a jobber and you would and if they came in town, you might help them train. Like you just kind of like do connections that way. Now there's actually a pipeline which I think is really interesting. Um, in the current era, they go to colleges and they talk to like the athletes that are like not like football. Like they talk to like the wrestlers and the track and field people and shit. And they're like, okay, so you've been doing athletics your whole whatever time. Have you thought about like what you do afterwards? And a lot of them are like, no. And they're like, you could just be a wrestler. It's like there's no real professional track and field unless you're like Olympic level. And also Olympic people usually lose money doing that. You could just you're already physically capable, right? So after you graduate, you want to come join us. So now they have like a pipeline that way,
Hmm.
and they use the whole like the new NIL shit with like name image likeness, and they like pay them to like be like spokesperson, whatever, and
Hmm.
then they put them in like their track to get them in wrestling, which I think is really smart. I mean, but it's like there's way more possibility. There's like way more slots to be a wrestler. Like if I was a school athlete, I would have been like, fuck yeah, give me the WWE. You make so much
Yeah.
money too if you're good.
Yeah. No. It's just it was not something that like I assume any kid would have understood the systems behind like
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, it
how
definitely
how
would.
you even like get there, like
I mean,
what you have to do to like worm your way into that position.
fuck, I barely understood the systems like of like normal jobs as an
Right.
adult.
I still don't really understand the systems of like most normal jobs, I assume. Like I understand it for mine and my field and stuff in the general vicinity, but like on an overall scale, I don't know. There's a lot of I was talking to someone else about this the other day about like do you remember the big Remelia cancel where everyone was like attributing these like weird insidious like cult like ideas
Hmm.
and saying a bunch of stuff that just like didn't make any sense if you knew that like it was entirely operated out of like an open group chat where they like added and removed random people daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really understand what was going on there until I realized that it was like they were looking at the situation like a 14-year-old would, who hears about like Walmart. He hears about like one of the execs at Walmart exhibiting like corrupt behavior or something,
Mm-hmm.
and like you don't you don't understand the degree to which like one person can just be like out here doing whatever without
Yeah.
anyone else in any other department even like knowing his name, right?
Yes, exactly.
You don't understand like the basic foundations of how any corporation operates when you're like a kid who's never been, and you think that there has to be some level of like it's the same mentality of people who Google, oh, is DeWalt or Milwaukee better at making tools? And you're like, well, both of them are companies that have a group of engineers who design a specific tool, and for any tool, like for maybe like an impact driver or something, maybe one has a better group of engineers than the other, but that will
Mm-hmm.
change depending on like each release cycle. There will be people who come and leave the company,
Yeah.
and so maybe one of the products will just be kick ass and maybe the next one will be total shit, and people just don't like that shit.
Yeah. They
Like they
don't.
don't like that reality of it. They want like which one is fucking better? I need you to tell me. I'm about to buy 30 tools and I need to know that all 30 of the Milwaukee ones are better than all 30 of the DeWalt ones, or else I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, I need that shit right now. Make it simple. Don't dumb it down to me. What's that? What's that? That green text. Explain it to lose to me right now. Explain to. Don't dumb it down for me. I swear. Yeah, it is. Yeah, a lot of things are like nuanced in that way. There's a lot of moving parts, and it always just made no sense to me. That whole Amelia cancel, it just does not make sense if you're
Well,
like,
that one got super funny too because they were like, well, if you look at this, both of these people used this hashtag of Caliak 4 years ago. And this other guy who used this hashtag was part of this Discord server. And someone else who was in that Discord server took over this Systemscape thing and turned it into a suicide cult or something. And then it's like,
yeah,
there was never even any like attempt to say, oh, this is what Charlie did. It was
yeah,
literally just like five like the series of associations out to say like, oh, like Charlie is the one who convinced X to like commit suicide or something, again with no proof other than at one point he was like in a Discord server.
yeah. No, it's definitely that whole, not iota of it was like linked to him as a person. It was always just like, I don't know. It was always just like this is a entity. It's like, if you ever watched, there's a YouTube documentary about Caliak. Not a full documentary.
I watched some that Soph girl, she made some big like 4-hour video that a
Oh,
bunch
did
of
you
people
really?
like sent to me, and they were like asking me like, hey bro, like what's going on here? Like, can you let me know what's going on, man? I'm getting really worried. And I was like, I don't.
Soph made a 4 hour. That's fucking.
Not that Sophie.
Oh,
It's
not
like
that Soph.
you know
Okay.
that like 16-year-old girl who used to
Oh,
like
okay, okay,
post a
okay.
bunch of like neo-Nazi stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Uh,
Uh, Made some really big breakdown of all of this stuff. And again, it was one of those things where like the only way anyone could have ever made that video is if they like just fundamentally had no idea how any sort of like organizational structure works in the world.
mm-hmm.
And like I don't necessarily like, I'm not like pissed off at this person for doing that because again, they're like 17. Like you've never worked at like a large bureaucratic corporation. You've never seen the way that like these weird like social systems develop when people go from like the friendship to like business mode.
Mm-hmm.
Caliak as a whole is like I can't even explain it to people because I wasn't even really there. Like I was on the other team, right? Like I was on the right wing bodybuilder team. Uh
Oh, you weren't even in
and
Caliak?
like I remember Caliak in that I was online during the period during like the tail end of it,
Yeah.
and all of my friends would constantly get in arguments with them, and I would be embarrassed perpetually because like I would watch one of my friends fall for like the same obvious troll like 60
Yeah.
times in a row, and I would message him and be like, "Hey man, like I don't think this person is being serious with you. I think you should stop quote tweeting them like this." and they'd be like, "No, like fuck you. This person's an idiot, man. Like you don't get it. Like go look at their timeline, man. They're so stupid." And I would be like,
I've seen this happen so many times.
Yeah,
It's
it
so
was
many
really
times.
bad, and it was especially bad because it was people who had been like on Twitter for like 5 years, and I was like very much like the new fag at the time, coming in and saying, you're getting trolled by this like weird guy in a dress," and they really didn't fucking like hearing that.
Yeah.
So they would go off about stuff like that, and I just kind of like gradually stopped. Like I don't know, I wasn't ever in any of the chats or anything, and I now know most of the I
You
don't
know the
even know
crazy part
most of
is,
the guys.
I was
Huh?
around for that. Like, I mean, I used to go on BTR, break the rules all the time, and talk to these people and whatever. And I would often be the person that was like consulted to explain Caliak whenever like it was being controversial on Twitter again. And I'm like,
Because
and
as far as I understand, they had like 80 of these episodes where they did like coordinated group trolls and just like
yeah.
exploded the internet.
Oh, this was a constant. It was a constant like meme that they'd run. They'd run psyops, and everyone would fall for it, and then they do it again, and they do it over and over again. Um, and I'd always have to explain to them like, this is just what it is. And also, it's like it was during COVID when they were like really popular. It was like that. It literally it existed before
Right, and
COVID, but it
all
was
of
during
this
that
like got
year
kicked
when
off because all the fucking normies logged on and
yes,
just got like dunked on by these men in
exactly.
dresses.
So imagine, yeah. So it's COVID. They had nothing better to do, and it's just this like Discord of people psyoping normies all day, and it's like I used to be in the Discord. I had like a role and everything, but like the Discord had no continuity inside of it. It's like imagine like a AOL chat room. Half of you guys can't fucking imagine an AOL chat room. You're too young. It's just like imagine just like random shit in like the main channels for like endlessly. Not a single conversation can really be followed. No one's even making any sense. Half of people are like playing a character. Half people are being like you cannot follow what's going on. There's no continuity. There's no and then there was like a and that's like all it was. It's like all right,
As
people are
far as
just,
I could tell, it
it's
was
like Z.
basically like Maya and then like a bunch of people orbiting Maya.
Yeah, yeah,
That
basically.
was always how, and it was like there were other like semi characters, I guess. Like Sunny was its own thing, but like
Mhm.
Maya was clearly like the progenitor of all content within that sphere, and
If there
then
was
like
no like
Sunny was this guy who like
Maya or
argued
whatever, it just
endlessly
like would
in
not
quote
have taken
tweets
off
about
because
like
Sunny
whether or not an
it's not
Indo-Aryan was
he's
like
kind of charismatic, but
a
it's
real
too
Nazi.
he's too like weird, like kind of in a dress dude online. Like no one's gonna try to like get like super obsessed with him. You know what I mean? Like it's because of his association with like Maya is that it like became a thing. Because Mia gave like a little bit of what's the word? Gave it credibility, right? Because you read the threads, like the 100 post threads, and you look up what the sources and shit. And you're like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. These are cool takes, etc.
I
So
liked
I don't know. I
I
think
don't
it's
know, a
Caliac
lot
was
of this
also
also gets
it
really hard
has
to
more
understand.
infamy than its actual reality. It's kind of like when people talk about like B or something. Well, B is actually a little more infamous, but like some of these like message boards have like a lore and energy to them that like in reality if you were there it's like no, no this wasn't like a thing.
Is my mic working?
Oh wait, I can't hear you. Oh wait, my audio's fucked up.
Hello?
Oh yeah, here you are, you're back.
Nice. I was wondering. I think I was talking through some of that. And I don't know if you heard me or not.
No,
So I
I
was
didn't hear
wondering
you.
if my mic cut out or something. But yeah, no, and a lot of it is just that like people who have never been invited to like any sort of like fun coordination group,
Hmm.
like whether it's like a Discord, a Telegram, like group chats, etc., they just don't understand that like eventually if you get enough smart people together, they just start like fucking with people for fun.
Yeah, basically that's
Whether
like
or
the
not,
most.
and this happens on like a global scale too, right? This is all like everyone wants to talk about, oh, the elites or whatever, and it's like, yeah, right, the elites, but like there's like 87 different like warring factions of elites, and like I
Mhm.
guarantee you that there's like Soros has a group chat where
Yeah.
where he like takes the Soros loyalists and like a few of his boys, and he says like LMAO, like fuck Elon, like we're gonna try and punk Elon this month, and
Oh definitely.
they coordinate like some silly nonsense, and like all of it uses like political rhetoric as the like the sledgehammer to break down the door, right? Like it's not like none of these like hyper billionaires give a shit in any sort of fundamental level about like ideology. It's just like which of these is going to be the most effective thing that I can whack somebody with. It's all uh exactly the same as like female social politics, right? Where like women don't women don't cancel each other because they genuinely just care that much about somebody saying X word. They
Mm-hmm.
do it because they're like, I think that my social capital within this group has grown to be high enough that I can make a power strike on this other girl,
Mm-hmm.
and I will have enough people supporting me to like kick her out of the group, and I will be able to take her place.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
then if they try that and they fuck it up, then
They get
they are
excommunicated.
humiliated and they're
Yeah.
forced back, and they go and they DM the other girl, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to, like blah blah blah. And this is their way of saying like, please don't behead me now after I've revealed myself to be a snake bitch.
Yes, exactly. That is, yeah, that's all of global politics is Mean Girls. All of everything is Mean Girls, really.
Yeah, and it's especially like because there is no dominant outlet of like at least not in like America or anything like that. There's no dominant outlet for masculine interpersonal skills, right? Like you don't Andrew Tate your way to power within like a Western geopolitical setting. You do the weird like feminine masculine thing where you're doing like performative victimhood to like fuck with people, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
it's like what US did to Russia, where we said we basically like pushed them to the point where at some point we knew obviously they were going to invade Ukraine because of
Mm-hmm.
the continued tie-ins that we did with Ukraine. Like
Mm-hmm.
after agreeing and saying no, we will not put them in NATO, we just kept inching closer and closer towards that goal in a very passive aggressive fashion until eventually they were forced to do something about it. And then we can say, "Oh, fuck you, Russia. Fuck you. You broke the rule. You crossed the line. We never crossed the line. We were good."
Mm-hmm.
But we were sitting there being like the nagging wife the whole time. And
Mm-hmm.
like in a way, smart guys understanding that they can pretend to be the nagging wife and just like punk people into this shit is like fucking based. Like that's all of successful interpersonal politics now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, it's like the dude in school who like gets the other person, like pisses the other person off, so they hit him first, so they can
Yeah.
do whatever they want. Yeah,
Yeah. No, and this is all
this is
like,
self defense. He hit me.
yep. And this is just the way that everything works now. And I mean, you can do the whole like this isn't masculine, it's not direct enough. Like I hate these beta subtle social cues, and it's like I guess, but like this is the way the world is, and so this is the way that I've rewired my brain, bro.
Yeah, you
Maybe
have
you
to do
should
it that
do it
way.
too, or else you're gonna get smoked. Like,
We're also like a century into it at this point, almost. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a reason why like conflicts switched from like World War II to like increasingly small scale
yeah, these like
skirmishes.
little passive aggressive turf wars and like weird
Yeah,
psyop uprisings.
yeah, because it's like the entire world shifted from like overt to like postmodern type of feminine type of shit.
And like it works so much better too. Like look at I mean, what happened with China? Like they looked like they were just about to go like balls out, like rip their shirt off, like throw down, ready to brawl. And then I have no fucking idea what we did to them, but now they're just like I
Chilling.
feel like we fucking cut their balls off in the last 3 years, just like out of nowhere.
uh base I mean, yeah, I mean there's apparently some turf war shit we have with them with Taiwan, but like for the most part China's more interested in like making money with doing work with us than they are with like world domination. They're like, we have control of like this, that, and the other thing, and it's kind of like they have their place now. But also I'm sure that there's like whatever current regime is going on that is a little less transparent is clearly like in the cahoots with China to begin with. Like it's not like you keep seeing all those like politicians with like the Chinese spy wives, and like low key I'm sure
God,
Zuckerberg's wife is
that's
a
so
Chinese
fucking
spy.
funny. That I mean, this every time I see a politician selling out an American, either the American populace or just like an American corporation or anything like that,
uh,
and then I look at the sum that they received, it's always like a
50K.
fucking Chinese 3.5 out of 10, or like
uh,
$10,000, or like some just like hilariously small amount of money, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I feel like if I had like $500 million, I could legitimately make like a serious play for like swaying American politics.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like you literally just need to be like moderately charismatic and know like where to put the money. And it seems like you can just kind of do anything, right? Like
I mean, that's what think about. This is
Swalwell
a
was insane because he literally like he got exposed for like sleeping with this Chinese spy, and then uh he was like, no, I didn't sleep with this Chinese spy. And then like it comes out that, oh yeah, like he did sleep with this Chinese spy like 50 times. And then he's like, I've never been involved with this. And then they find out like he's still like interacting with her on Facebook.
yeah,
Like
of
he's still
course.
like liking and commenting on this Chinese spy's photos. And and he's just like, yeah, I think that's fake.
I'm
And,
crying.
and it was fine. Like he's
Yeah, no
still
one
literally
cares.
in like the Senate Security Committee.
I mean, I'm sure there's the rate of Chinese spies is also so much higher than people. Like, I cannot imagine. Like, what's her face? What's her face?
Well, that was the crazy thing to me is I'm just thinking like fuck me, like what if they had like an actually hot Chinese woman?
Yo, yeah,
She
exactly.
could literally dismantle the entire U.S. government.
You also have to consider that it's not like China is letting like everyone go to the U.S. to study, right? Like, I can't imagine China, what we know about China, to be like, okay, we're giving you this, like, the ability to go to the U.S. and go to their schools or whatever, and them not also be like, we're also going to need you to do X, Y, and Z while you're there. Or if you happen to get X, Y, and Z, you have to use that information
Oh
to get
yeah,
your,
like why are
you know
you
what I mean?
outsourcing all of your like most brilliant young minds to America if not specifically to make inroads in American academia and like fuck
Exactly.
around there, right?
And it's also
Like it,
like I can't imagine, like, I mean, I've always said this. I mean, I might just be being racist, but I pretty positive I did a little deep dive at some point, and I'm like, what's her face? Zuckerberg's wife is like ties to like Chinese like government. When he met her at Harvard, I'm like, I'm like,
wouldn't it be funny if the thing with Zuckerberg's wife was exactly like the thing with like Charlie and like whatever system space Discord admin, where it's literally like we're just from the
oh
outside
yeah, right.
assuming that there has to be some like systemic tie-in, and realistically, like she's just sitting there like, what the fuck? Like these people are absolute
That
retards.
would be pretty funny. I mean, it's also very possible that is the case. That it's just a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was I mean, also, yeah, he's the Chinese Asian woman white guy is also a classic combo. So you never know. But
He's like the original tech guy, right?
he's
Like
like different, yeah,
the original white guy dating an Asian wife.
yeah. I mean, they've been together this whole time. So I mean, she's
He set
dedicated.
the standard for like what these people are essentially.
He did set the standard. Yeah, because I don't think there's another like notable one. I mean, that was always like kind of implicit, but it was never like, here's what tech guys do.
Doesn't fucking Linus Tech Tips have like the Asian wife? Like he has like that was the other like really crazy one for me.
Linus, like Linux.
No, like Linus from Linus Tech Tips, like the YouTube channel.
Oh, I don't know. I never watched that channel.
Wow.
I know
Can't
I'm a
believe you don't
fake
watch
nerd.
Linus Tech
I'm
Tips.
so fucking fake, dude. I just outed myself. It's so over for me.
I think he was one of the first YouTube channels I ever followed. I followed Linus at like fucking like 50K or something. And he has like 15 million followers now.
Oh, sick. That's kind of shocking that I've never even seen him before. But that's kind of
I've
how
been
YouTube
watching
is.
him pretty intently because like I mean, I'm trying to write up a big thing about my basic thesis on why I think that influencer brands are going to basically outcompete corporate brands within whichever niches they decide to target, because you just have such like a stupid networking advantage as an influencer versus a corporation. Like
Hmm.
nobody will ever approach you as Walmart and say, fuck Walmart, I just fucking love your vibes and I would love to help you edit this podcast or video or whatever. Like it's flat out never gonna happen. But like we've had multiple people come to us now and be like, hey, like I love you guys, I love your podcast, I'd love to help like edit it, or do you need like visuals or anything like that, right?
Hmm.
And it's the same thing with like I've had people ask me about like selling stuff or say like, hey, have you considered like this? And people just generally like reach out and use like they use the idea that they have as like an excuse to like reach out and tell you things.
Hmm.
And people also just they either like or dislike you. Whereas like Walmart, people don't like like you don't like or dislike Walmart. They brand themselves as a maximally agreeable corporation because they're trying to extract the maximum amount of wealth out of like the American consumer base.
Hmm.
Like you can't piss off 50% of America and succeed as Walmart, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
like you or me, if we were to start a company, we could be totally fine pissing off 50% of America. And actually it's
You
going to
probably get
be
pissed off like 70%. It's actually probably
we could
better.
we could piss off damn near 95% and it will not prevent us from making like $100 million.
It's true,
It's
yeah.
just
And in fact, it polarizes, it galvanizes your core.
exactly, and that's the thing is there's a benefit to it because in every person you piss off, you do so by taking a stance generally. Like you can
Hmm.
totally piss people off just broadly. Like it is possible to say things that piss 100% of people off,
Yeah.
but usually if you're not like a total idiot, what happens is you say polarizing things and then people get pissed off at you, but other people also say, "Damn, that was kind of cool and I like you a lot now." And when
Yes.
people like reach that level of turbo liking you, they want to reach out with you and work with you, or just like if they like you personally, they might say like, even though I don't think there's like necessarily like a great financial reason for us to partner up, I would like to do it because it seems fun.
Yes.
And that allows people to like people come with like product suggestions. And Linus is someone who I've been watching for this specific thing because he basically like he started making his own physical product, which is something that I think all of these influencer brands eventually need to go to, right? Like stage one is selling T-shirts that they have printed off with someone else's printing press, or like they go and sell PDFs or courses that they've made, uh, or they use their platform to advertise for somebody else's product. But the obvious next stage of this is just as an influencer, you getting in contact with industry and saying, "Hey, could you produce this? Like, can you make this product?" And he made his screwdriver, which is
Hmm.
like he made like a screwdriver for building computers, and it has a magnetic tip and some other
Ooh.
features and whatever. He's literally selling like $120 screwdriver, right? He's competing with like Snap On and all of these other big tool companies, and I don't necessarily like I don't think I would have personally picked a screwdriver, but I do think that even though he picked it, he's still going to eventually win. Like I think he's going to eventually have the best product in this specific category because one, he got to document the process of creating the screwdriver, right?
Hmm.
Like he got to say, okay, this is what it looks like when you get in contact with like I'm reaching out to these suppliers, I'm saying, hey, like can you make this out of this material, and they're coming back and saying, oh, we think this material would be better. Like our material scientist says like these things aren't really as applicable as this one we're suggesting, and maybe we could do this color better because this dye is less brittle. And so he's like posting the full process of what it looks like to make this.
Hmm.
Obviously people are interested in this because it's just interesting, right? Like this isn't something that people ever open source, right?
Yeah.
Like
So you
nobody who
don't
makes a
see this, yeah.
product says, everybody, I'm going to show you exactly how I made this product, because it's like demystifying to an extent.
Yeah, you
But we're
usually want
also
to erase the work when you just show them the final proof.
right,
You don't usually
yeah.
show them the steps leading up to it.
But because he has this big brand and following, it winds up just getting everybody engaged and invested in this product. So people who never would have fucking bought this thing in a million years are now coming out and buying it because like they've been watching it be created, right?
Hmm.
Like they have some level of investment in it. And now once these people get the product and they're using the product, this is when like the massive hyper benefit kicks in. All of the rest was like, okay, I guess mild networking benefit. I guess more people buy it or something, whatever, without you advertising. But like the real massive benefit comes when people start actually using it and giving you design feedback, right?
Yes, yeah, the
Anything that
iterative
they don't
process.
like
Yeah.
about the design, they're going to tell you, and you iterate that shit endlessly, right? Nobody goes to Walmart and says, I think that the great value brand spatula should have a handle that's shaped slightly more like this, because they know nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
If you're an influencer, you have a face, big, nice, friendly, grinning, front facing entity who people want, they already want to reach out to them. But now they have an excuse to do it, right? They can say, I bought your thing. Here's this helpful piece of advice I can give you about it. Like, it's just going to fucking rain in.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like it's already. I mean, in many ways, it's already winning. But yeah, if you have like if you're having the iterative the speed of iteration is what makes Twitter better. It's what makes having a product better. It's always been the thing where like people like to argue about the whole like blue check thing, right, on Twitter now, right? It's like, oh, we're blue checks. We have like we can demonstrate that we are like verified sources on information, right? But the thing that's always killed me is like, and people still don't seem to understand this, is that Twitter will always beat any blue check like verified source, even without verification, because of iteration. And yeah, thanks for listening. That's the end of the episode. If you've listened this far, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Check us out on Twitter. And also, more importantly, we have a Patreon that's launching this week. It probably won't be launching if you listen to this episode the second it drops, but it'll be launching very soon after that. And we will have not only the full audio from this episode, we will also have full audio from some of our previous episodes, such as like the Paul Town episode that people were requesting, the Rune episode, Samara, etc. So be on the lookout for that. Check out our Patreon. It's going to be /@VersionLucas or patreon.com/VersionLucas. And yeah, catch you guys later.